All right, welcome back to the show, Sports Forensics and Picks with John Patterson and Matt Corbett. Here we are, and today we're discussing the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 59. Um, and it's the Chiefs again. The Chiefs here for a potential three-peat. They faced the Eagles. They played about 24 months ago, 2 years ago. So this is a rematch of Super Bowl 57. Yeah, so we're going to be talking a little bit about all kinds of things here: the game, the props, the spread pick, our personal picks, and maybe a little bit about how the Chiefs got here, and
Ah,
any sort of controversy there. But yeah, what do you think, John? Excited for
well,
this one or not?
first of all, I think the Chiefs are obviously super, super legit. I don't. As to me, it's not a question. How they got there. It's how they did it getting there, and um, they're still the best. To be the man, you got to beat the man, right?
Yeah, and no
Uh,
one's done that. So
this,
except for
I
Tampa.
mean, their whole. A lot of people want to go about how the refs are all supporting Mahomes, and if the guy blows on Mahomes, then it's attempted Mahomicide or whatever, and that's just really funny, but it kind of paints a picture of the overarching NFL not protection of Mahomes, not protection of the Chiefs, but really kind of protection of this fake mystique, this fake history, this fake record run that they have, and I'll use as the perfect example the 16 games in a row winning by one score or less. The term one score or less, how do you win by zero scores? Uh, but it's really kind of a joke to me. And so this brings the sandbagging effect. And yeah, in my history, I know what all that's about. But I think that there's just a lot of BS, and I believe that they've been suppressed in a lot of ways. However, I could think back to a few moments in this season where even the Philadelphia Eagles have kind of suppressed their own energy. And I'll just throw out one example only. So don't test me, people out there. But one example only was the week that they played the Saints, and this was after the Saints started off the season gangbusters, 2-0.
Yeah, that
Philly
was like
hadn't
week
really
three or
shown
something, wasn't
anything.
it?
Philly was at home and they were favored to win. And I remember everybody in the office saying, "Oh man, Saints are going to crush them." I'm like,
Mhm.
and even on the show, we were all over Philadelphia. But I remember Sirianni before the first half. They just literally every effort they took to not cover the first half, they were just cool. The Jets, they
Yeah.
showed absolutely nothing,
Well,
and where
that was a low scoring game, wasn't it? Like a 14 to
well,
12
yeah,
score.
not just that, but it was one of those games where they won the game, covered the line, but
Mhm.
didn't cover at halftime and had to
Yeah,
really work really hard not to.
yeah.
So both of these teams are far better than they've shown. So starting there, do I believe that each is the best in their conference? Yep, I do. So I believe that this is a legitimate Super Bowl showdown, and we can just kind of start it with me throwing that out there, kind of how I feel
Mhm.
about the matchup in itself. I do believe that there will be a lot more money on the Chiefs in this game. So, in the fact that it's basically a pick 'em, it's a 1 point spread. I expect the Swifties to come out in the morning tomorrow, Super Bowl Sunday, and probably move that up to 1.5, just because there's going to be so much money on it, or they won't even move the line. They're just going to
Yeah.
say, "Yeah, we'll take whatever it is,"
Mhm.
and that might even foreshadow my, part of my big pick for tomorrow. So,
Did
what's your take on all this?
was the line originally 2.5? Because I remember I didn't see it originally, but I knew it was 1.5 at one point, and I checked this morning, and it was down to one in the majority of books. So that's
It
interesting.
opened at 2.
It opened at two. Okay.
I think some places wanted to get ahead in case there was just so much Chiefs motion out there, and put maybe listing it at 2.5. Um,
Well, to go
And
back to
so,
what you were
but yeah,
saying,
it immediately went to 2 and then down to 1.5. I mean, it has been 2 weeks. So we've had the media days and all that. I mean, two
right?
weeks, there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of chances for people to second bet them or second guess themselves.
For sure.
So it's a great Super Bowl matchup. And I think that
Yeah.
it's going to be very, very even at the Super Bowl parties. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that getting back to what you said, these two teams are. I mean, you hate to say it, but I mean, no one was really too excited about how the Chiefs were looking. But this is a team that went what 15-2 in the regular season, and that last week of the season was their second loss, and that was because they didn't play anybody. They were resting their starters against the Broncos. So they essentially had that 3 weeks because you have that week of the last week of the season where you don't play your starters. You have the wild card week where you don't play, and then a whole other week to prepare for that divisional game, that playoff game. So you get 3 weeks. So they're definitely fresh and ready to go. And they definitely had some luck with some of these games. They have been in close games against lesser competition. You think about the blocked field goal against the Broncos, or you think about the Raiders. I think it's Aiden
Oh,
O'Connell is like fourth down, hits the ball, or third down, hits the ball in his chest, and they recover. And
imagine me who pounded the Raiders on the money line that
oh
game. I mean,
yeah,
a good
oh
thing I
yeah,
backed it up with the points, right? But
there you go.
that was the biggest gut punch of the season.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I got into that like, hey, I'm going to pick against early in the year. I was picking against the Chiefs pretty much every week because I was like, there's no way they're going to be that good this week, and I got burned. And then I jumped on the bandwagon, started taking some money lines for the Chiefs. Didn't necessarily go with the points, but was able to have some success in that regard. Um, but that being said, they are here. These controversial calls. The internet up in arms about. I'm a Bills fan, obviously, and you know there was some calls that weren't perfect, but they're still close calls. I think obviously refs can have some control of the game. 5 to 7 calls, close calls, maybe a penalty here or there can absolutely dictate who ends up winning a football game. But I don't know. I don't want to go down the rigged avenue here in this video. I think we should go ahead and discuss some of the prop bets and our picks and our takes on the X's and O's. What do you think, John?
Well, sure. I mean, this is the biggest bet sporting event of the year, and
Yeah,
so
for sure.
they're making their money on margins. And being that it's Super Bowl, it's the amount of props that they have there, and you look at the spreads on them. So you're going to find a lot less, fewer, but they will exist. Some choreographed outcomes on the individual level, with which they'll just
Right.
it's not even a function of, hey, are we making 10% vig, 20, or even 30. A lot of these pickums are minus 130 on some of these sites. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But there are going to be some people that have, quote unquote, assignments, or they're just simply going to be written out of game scripts to one level or another. And I'll start with my first bear pick. I'm very bearish on Jalen Hurts
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. You can get him at just some really, really insane touchdown odds. It's crazy. I mean, even the passing yardage for both quarterbacks. I mean, if you can throw 350 yards plus is basically at the top of the scale, where you're getting 8 to 1 for 350 passing yards for either of these two quarterbacks. That's insane. And so there's going to be a lot of people jumping on those, and because they look so good, and why not throw a dart at it?
Mhm.
In
Absolutely.
theory, anything can happen, right? Um, but I don't like the way it's lined up for Jalen. Um, and realistically, I don't like how it's lined up for points, unless it is truly a legitimate contest, in which case I see this going one of two ways, leaving props out of it, unless you're going to bet points. I like margin of victory bets. I also like total points plays, but on polar sides. I don't like just picking something near the spread and
Right.
or over under. I see the Chiefs winning if the game goes under. Uh, Andy Reid's the kind of guy that's going to kick a lot of field goals. He's going to trust his defense. He's going to eat seconds on the clock, because what's the point in rushing? What's the point in either of these teams going no huddle? The other team's too good. They know that drill. So it's going to be a slower paced game if it's close. I expect that there's going to be, so the Chiefs in the under, if it goes under. If it's the Eagles, it's going to go over. And so
Yeah.
people ask me, who do you like, Chiefs or the Eagles? I say neither. I like Saquon Barkley. And so this is any way you can prop Barkley, you should. And again, this is not advice. This is just what I'm doing. I love Saquon Barkley, mostly for this reason. And this has been how much he's been taken out of the whole theatrics, not just of the Super Bowl, but even the playoffs, and not just the playoffs, but even the regular season. A lot of people have already forgotten, or if they even knew, Saquon Barkley basically took the last game off where he would have been a shoo-in to break a rushing
Yeah.
record. This dude sat on the bench and forewent breaking an NFL record and becoming part of the books. Yeah. Dude sees the big picture. Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, he had the single greatest play possibly in NFL history this year. He would have broken the rushing record. Look what he did in the playoffs. He's broken more 40-plus yard scores than anyone I've ever seen. Not in a college or high school game. But he wasn't even in the post-game hype last week. They had Jalen out there as if Jalen, parted the Red Sea.
Right.
And he didn't. He just had a couple of tush push carries that, come on.
They got stopped on the tush push too. That was crazy.
But it's this whole team dynamic is built on their rushing game, and they got who now has proven to be the best in the game. We didn't really see it with New York because they were so bad. So now we know how big their problems are over in New York.
Right.
But I'm betting Saquon Barkley in any way you can, including the MVP. I expect him to win the MVP. And if he doesn't, then that means that they didn't win. So to me, the smartest bet is Saquon to win the MVP award. Bet him any way you can. Bet him plus 150 yards rushing. Bet him plus 200 yards all purpose, including receiving yards. Bet him any way you can. Bet him to score X amount of touchdowns. Just do it, because if Philly wins, it's going over, and it's going to be because of him. The props on Jalen Hurts certainly are not conducive to him having a game. They're conducive to attracting a lot of bets. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big scary thing for me. I don't like Hurts in this game, but I love Saquon, and I believe that they've kept him in the shadows through this process for his big moment, which is yet to come.
Yeah. Did you have the odds for what it is plus whatever for if Barkley does win the MVP? I'm looking for the MVP.
Yeah. In fact, it's been bet down, and hello.
Everyone's picking my homies.
So last I saw was down to 2.5 to 1. It started, basically, he's right there. And Mahomes was the favorite, and then you had him, Hurts and Saquon. But yeah, Saquon's been the big mover. Mm-hmm. And obviously that doesn't scare me, because it's people who've been paying attention that have been betting that, because it's normally not as big of a bet as it has been this year. Usually people are betting the spread, or like me, they're betting the total one way or the over, or they're just betting other props that are going to give them, really, really good odds. And so they have something to root for over the course of a game.
I mean,
this year it's really no secret what a great year he's had, but he's gone out and he's shown it against everyone. And this is a function also of just simply how good the running scheme and the offensive line are. And also as good of a quarterback as they have, to where if they're going to run passing plays. They've got great receivers, a quality tight end. They've got good, possession guys. So they're such a solid team that the shining strength on it, their offensive line, really comes through. And for that same reason, they invented the tush push, right?
Mhm.
Often imitated, never duplicated.
Yeah,
And so that puts someone who's at the top of his game like Barkley just as a piece that's just ready to shine.
absolutely. Yeah, that offense as a whole so dynamic, and the Eagles in general, one of the best teams they've ever had. So they are primed to, I mean, hopefully make a run at it. So, well, I think most people are sick of the Chiefs, but maybe not. Maybe people are, finding that Brady-esque, idea here where they do want to see, somebody catch Brady. Somebody, the NFL. I mean, sports in general are, so reliant on, big time stars that collect championships. And if there's any sort of rigging involved, that's what they would probably push for, somebody to catch Brady. However, if it is legit, it's quite special. Um, so that being said, I do have my pick. I picked it at the beginning of the year, in our first video. I was on the Ravens and the Chiefs opened the year, right? And we were both on the Ravens, but I was definitely on the Chiefs to win it all, and I still am. And I think you brought it up. You brought up, hey, last year's Super Bowl. By the end of the game, they were already talking about three-peat, and you said that's probably why, I might not want to go that direction. But
That's right.
um, I went ahead, and that's my pick. And I picked them last week against my team, the Bills, and they got it done, and in heartbreaking fashion here for me. Um, but yeah, I like the Chiefs here, 29-26.
Wow. First of all, I need to. So you're going Chiefs in the over. That's great. I love it
Mhm.
when we disagree. It's
Yeah.
always a good thing for me. But I
What
got
is
to
it,
give you
49 and a
credit
half
for
still?
going against your team in the biggest moment they've had
Mhm.
and being right about it.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that when my team gets there, that part of my heart just shoots an arrow through my brain, and I end
Oh,
up
yeah.
on the wrong side of things.
Mhm.
Like the Chargers, gosh, I loved them in week one, and look what they
I
did
know,
against
I
the
know.
Texans. They killed me. They're poison. They're like putting the total on a sure bet,
Right.
money line underdog,
And that's the
and
one that
it's
cost you in
something that
our,
doesn't work.
in the what is it called? The NFL Predictor Challenge that we have going on a different channel, the Corporate Clown NFL channel. Just yeah, that sucks picking your favorite. I was able to go and pick that one, the Bills over the Ravens. I took that, which is interesting too, because if you want to talk about the MVP, Lamar Jackson was probably clear cut MVP, and then he won the All Pro QB first team. Indicates that he should go ahead and win the MVP as well. And then Allen does beat him in the playoffs, and then Allen kind of gets this backing from potentially bad calls against the Chiefs, which leads to him winning the MVP. So I think that's an interesting thing that occurred. And I think it's weird because this is supposed to be a regular season award, yet they wait to do the votes until into the playoffs, which definitely, no matter how you cut it, that has to skew things in some direction. You know, so
Well, I have to say something. One thing about the Josh Allen winning the MVP. I don't think it had anything to do with anything other than he was the best, and
Mhm.
that's evidenced by the fact that he didn't have one other player on his team that made the Pro Bowl. So he was an
Yeah,
island, and
yeah,
so clearly he truly was the most valuable. Imagine
yeah.
him with some game breaker type players on his team,
Mhm.
whether it be on either line, disruptors on D. Um, you know, all pro receivers or running. He didn't have
Right.
any of that. It was just
Yeah,
him. And so
yeah.
I
Really
believe he
insane.
truly deserved it. And I would have been upset if he didn't get it because, like you say, if not now, when, right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's what we say every year with the Super Bowl when they get close. So that's getting a little nerve wracking as a Buffalo Bill fan.
Yeah. So yeah. So you got the Chiefs and you got the over. In fact, in the predictor challenge, even though I'm not there, I went all in that first week, with the Chargers and okay, money gone. Again, that burned me. However, in position, with you, I is I'm gonna call it one of my proteges.
There you go.
Rin Tin Tin. There's a
Yeah.
Rin Tin Tin uh, you know, we'll see what the pick is there. But you're with the Chiefs, right? If that's the case, and Rin Tin Tin goes with the Chiefs all in, then you get locked out. But I
Can't
don't
win.
think that's going to be the case, because there's a big spirit for Philadelphia, specifically, Barkley and what they can do. So I think that's going to be a real interesting matchup. But
Yeah.
enough about that. We got to get back to some of these, props. I'm gonna have bull or bear. I'm gonna ask you
Okay.
about players just in general in terms of props, how they're going to do individually, whether it be passing, receiving, rushing, what have you. Are you
Perfect. So
bullish or bearish on Patrick Mahomes?
what is there passing yards, touchdown?
Metric being passing yards, passing, even rushing. Tell me your feelings on anything that popped up, either very positive or very negative in any aspect that he might be bet on a prop.
I would say passing yards would be one that I would be bullish on. Um, the other one's not so much. I think he can scramble. I mean, he could easily rush for 30 yards in this game, So I don't know if that'll happen, obviously, but I'm not overly excited about too many of the prop bets. It's not something I usually dig too deep into, to be candid with you. But if you give me specific
Well,
numbers, I
okay.
will let you know.
Specifically last year, the best play I had in all of my props was I bet Patrick Mahomes all the way up the sheet in
Mhm.
rushing yards. And the reason why is because he was a pocket passer, didn't have to do anything. They just basically were cruise control into the Super Bowl. But in the Super Bowl, that's when, on third down, when nothing's there, guess who's running? And
Mhm.
so I bet him all the way up, and I cleaned up. He ended up with around 70 yards, and I think the top on the sheet was 60, low 60. And so I got him at at plus 200, at plus 400, plus 700, and plus.
Mhm.
So I bet him up
Okay.
the sheet, and
Yeah.
so that ended up being a great prop play. Obviously, when you're going to take, say, plus 40 yards at plus 200, you're going to bet more on that than you are on plus 400 or 600.
Mhm.
And so you kind of taper down to where you're getting more money for each progressive step that he makes, without just simply um, throwing good money after bad. You want to hit, and then you want a bonus, and then you want another bonus, as
Mhm.
long
Yeah.
as they keep hitting those. So
Right.
last year on rushing yards, it was Mahomes, and you know what? He might be good for that also this year, because I don't expect him to have those wide open options that he's
Mhm.
used to having.
Yeah, I think the Eagles defense can hem him in a little bit. Um, in comparison to some of these other defenses that he's been able to carve up with his legs, but we'll see.
And who knows, if somebody actually touches him with
Yeah,
like more than two fingers,
tack on
then
15.
he might get a 15-yard penalty. So
Yeah,
there's definitely a benefit in him running the ball. And I say that in
absolutely.
jest, of
Yeah,
course.
absolutely. Yeah, he's
Um,
he's been really good at drawing penalties too, not just because he's Patrick Mahomes, not because he's flopping necessarily, but just because he knows how to get it done. So,
but not today. I
and not
say no. They're gonna no. This is gonna be a real game, as they say in like college basketball. They're gonna let them play.
hmm
So I
yeah,
don't think you're gonna see too much of that. In fact, if anything, you're gonna see a correction against that, where
there's
you
going to
may
be
have the Swifties all up in arms because Patrick Mahomes took a helmet to the head, and unless it's a big deal, or obviously a blatant thing, they're not going to call it.
yeah. I mean, the NFL, this game, this Super Bowl in particular, is the most it's ever going to be under a microscope, in my opinion. People are ready to boycott this thing and not watch it. I think this is going to be this is important for the NFL to get right, especially with the officiating here. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch the game. Not overly excited about it, but it's a Super Bowl, and as much as I am personally jaded from the Chiefs' success, it's still it's still history. It's still history, and it's part of our culture. So
Yeah, and if they do win, then hey, they've earned it. They've made it there. Okay,
mhm. Yeah,
um, and that's how it should be, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm not very bullish on Mahomes in anything other than those rushing yards.
Okay.
You know, I think that he's just going to have them by default. I think his default setting for rushing production, it's just always there, and they're going to need to at times. So you know
Mhm.
that makes it fun. So anything that's paying better than even money is might be good for a shot. What
Mhm.
about Kelsey? How you feeling about him?
Kelsey, well, I going back to the Mahomes is I think that, if the Eagles do score points, the Chiefs are going to have to keep up. And I think the way that they do that is with Mahomes in the passing attack. So I think Kelsey has a good game. I could see him getting 100 yards and a touchdown.
Okay, I'm actually bullish on Kelsey as well, more than any other receiver that isn't Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown, we haven't seen anything from, even though he's been healthy for well over a month now. He doesn't have a touchdown. We haven't seen anything.
It's
He's
Hollywood,
my
baby.
quote
He'll probably get an
unquote
80-yard
pick to
touchdown.
click. He's my pick to click for the
Yeah.
Chiefs, Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
But in terms of possessions and moving the chains, there's nothing more solid than that Mahomes Kelsey connection.
Yeah.
And I will say this: if the Chiefs win, oh gosh, this is setting up a prop bet that
Gosh.
I'm so tempted to take. I'm so tempted to take this. Does Kelsey propose to Taylor Swift after the game? I say he does if they win. So the Chiefs and the under and with a prop bet, I'm going to involve Hollywood Brown. I like Hollywood Brown. I think he's going to show up
Mhm.
in a way that people, that guy isn't. I thought he was on the Ravens.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to say no. Expect him to show up. But but Kelsey might even win the MVP if they go,
Mhm.
because I believe that he'll be double digits in receptions if they win. If they lose, he might not have any. And
Is this
so
a wedding
there's
ceremony? That
definitely
50
a
yard.
polar aspect to the Kelsey thing. So you're either in or you're out. And
Mhm.
for the NFL to drag itself and its viewers, its loyal
Mhm.
viewers and fans for all these years with Taylor Swift, I think it's time somebody said it, and I'm the guy that's going to say it. The NFL brought her into things, and they've been focusing so much on her to
Mhm.
do nothing more than to drag more children into sports betting. And I think it's freaking sinister.
Yeah, it's
There,
pretty
I've
messed
said
up.
it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. It's a great take. And it is. I mean, if that's the case, that's absolutely disgusting. But, I mean, that's what happens. These young kids are very impressionable. You get somebody like Taylor Swift, and then all of a sudden you're watching the games. Then all of a sudden, all the sports betting stuff is legal. And I mean, even if you're an 18-year-old kid, I mean, that's still probably, in my opinion, too young to be subjected to that. But, hey, if you can go to war, you should be able to drink. Why can't you sports bet? So I don't know.
Yes. But then again, you know what? Is Taylor Swift what? Her average fan is what, 7 years old? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, can you create an account? I mean, if you can get a TikTok and an Instagram and go on all this stuff, I don't know. All this internet stuff is just unless your parents are monitoring and have like these locks on it. I mean, all they do is ask you a question. It's not like I don't know how you have a bank account and could put money in there, but neither here nor there.
Yeah. And, oh, by the way, I should retract that statement on Taylor fans' average fan being 7. I
Oh
should
yeah.
change that word to median.
That's hilarious. Well, it's like, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, they're not all 7. Some are.
So, but anyway, so
Mhm.
Kelsey's kind of an interesting ride.
Yeah.
You can prop him for the MVP. You can prop him for yardage. You could prop him for receptions. You could prop him for touchdowns, and that's all again if the Chiefs win.
Mhm.
So those two guys,
And prop
I
him on the
think,
carrot
yeah,
size.
Hollywood Brown is fun to play anyway, whether it be first touchdown scored,
Mhm.
even possibly last touchdown scored, because you're getting him at huge odds. I mean, it's a great dart throw. Plus, if you do first and last, you've always got a chance of him winning if he catches one at any time of the game.
Mhm.
And then, but the fact that he's done nothing and his odds are a lot less strong than people say like DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm extremely bearish on. I expect
Mm,
nothing from him
mm,
based on what I'm seeing is these big carrot odds. I mean,
yeah.
11 and a half receiving yards and
Ah,
even money. Give me a
yeah,
break.
that's
is he even gonna play?
that's
Or are they just gonna
crazy.
run him on a third round decoy every here and
Yeah.
there? I don't know. What are
Hopkins.
your thoughts on that?
I think that's really interesting. I had no idea that the receiving yards are that low. I mean, that is like, that's a red flag. Everyone's going to be taking that, and guess what? They're just going to be collecting the money. I mean, he's going to have one catch for 8 yards or some garbage, and you know, give me the chips, says Vegas.
Well, you know something. The I think the most possible bets that you can make on excuse me, Bovada is first quarter touchdown pairings. Meaning,
Mm.
for example, Saquon scores a touchdown and Mahomes throws
Wow.
a touchdown, or
Mhm.
Saquon and Hurts, whatever. Kelsey gets a touchdown, Saquon. These odds are all so huge. Like
Mm.
the lowest pairing is like 40 to 1, and they go up to like in the thousands to one for like these endless
Sure, sure.
combinations of people that
Yes.
score touchdowns in the first. Guess what that is to me? Guess what I see when I see all those lists?
That
I don't see
nobody's going
which
to score.
ones are going to win. I see that is this is the donation page.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
one of them is going to win.
yeah.
Not one. So
One
if you,
touchdown total in the first quarter.
if that
Yeah.
if that, I do think though that there will be one, but there won't be two. And
Yeah.
so when you look at ways that they just take your money, we talk about it all the time. That's why
Mhm.
we have this channel.
Yeah.
I see the first quarter, and again, I could be wrong, I could be right. Public Image Limited, shout out to people that get that one. But I just don't think that there will be two touchdowns in the first quarter, and I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh my butt off because it's just a stupid donation page, and if you want to throw money at it, you do so not at your own peril. You do it. At your own volition. It's like
Mhm.
you're begging to just give them your money.
Yeah.
But I could have made $10,000. Oh yeah, yeah, me
How'd that work
too.
out?
That's why I don't play the lottery. That's why I don't play slot machines. I could have, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I didn't, so I don't.
Yeah, flush it.
Therefore, I won't. So
Another
anyway, that's
shower because I
interesting.
got a
The
flush.
first quarter action. So I think an interesting bet is the under in the first quarter.
I
How's that?
respect that. What's the over under, like 13,
Yeah,
15, something like that?
yeah. I don't. To be honest with you, I think it's probably around 10 and a half.
Hmm.
I didn't look at it, but that would be my guess if I were them, because 10 and a half is low enough to get a lot of action on the over,
Yeah, of
especially if it's already going under. So why they don't give it away, right?
course. So you're pretty much guaranteed a
So
7-3
to
for the
be
first
honest,
quarter.
I don't bet quarters, and
Yeah,
I'm not going to tomorrow. To
right.
me, I have much more writing on it,
Dude,
having
I don't bet
spoken about
quarters.
it with
I
you for a
only
couple
bet
minutes.
unders.
Yeah, I mean, I put myself out there on the regular, and that's just something I see. I just this is the game where they make more money. This is where everybody makes their money in the business, and
Mhm.
so how do they get it? They get it from people like you and I, and so and people
Absolutely.
watching this.
Yeah. So that being said, we are a little low on time here. Is there anything else you want to discuss before we sign off?
Well, um, yeah, yeah. Basically, I think that Philadelphia is going to beat them, and I believe that Philadelphia has the chance to blow them out. I think that
5
this
points two
game
weeks ago.
has the potential to
Learjet 55.
be 52-17, something along those lines, something like the way Baltimore punished when they won the Super Bowl the first
Mm,
time.
yeah.
Something along the lines of the Dallas. I think I think it was the Bills, like
Yeah.
52 to
55.
17. That was actually kind of close to that number.
Mhm.
But the NFL tries to keep it as close as they can when there's a little bit of distance between them in terms of quality. Well,
Mhm.
here we see it as a coin flip. Therefore, I see the potential of a blowout being there because no one's looking for it. But I also think that the macros are just kind of lined up,
Mm, mhm.
for a big day for Saquon, a big day for that offensive line, a
Yeah.
big day for the Eagles fans. So again,
Yeah.
I'm betting Saquon. I'm not
Yeah.
betting the Eagles,
Right.
but I will bet the
Good.
Eagles in margin of victory. I will bet the Eagles I'll bet the total in like as high as it flies. I'll bet say if it's 82 points plus at
Mhm.
50 to 1. Those are the kind of bets I will be on. Again, just Saquon is my guy. I'm going to back it up with the Chiefs parlayed with the under. I'm going to back it up with anything involving Kelsey, as much as it turns my stomach to bet on
Yeah.
Pfizer Trav.
Hmm.
I'm going to bet on the marriage proposal. I'm going to have fun with this. I
Yeah.
want to have action throughout the game and even after it. How's that?
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. That's how to have fun during the Super Bowl. And let me tell you, if the game was all about X's and O's, well, yeah, the Eagles would blow them out, right? But it's not. This is a rigged league, and I'm on the Chiefs to three-peat. Money line points, take them any way you can.
Fantastic. Do we have 1 minute?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna share with everyone, if since you made it this far,
Okay.
here's the best game you can possibly play with your group at a Super Bowl party. Screw squares. Squares suck.
Yeah.
Squares are for squares. Sorry, Eric. Eric's my brother-in-law. We're playing squares
Fun
too.
squares,
But
yeah.
here's the thing. Instead of squares, we're doing shares. So
Mm,
everybody puts in $5 for any player you want to win the MVP. You could also do it for receiving yards or first touchdown. So say $5. I want to share in Patrick Mahomes for MVP. People can put $5 on anyone, and even the field bet. Anybody who doesn't have an individual share on them, and then at the end, whoever wins, the number of shares put on them, you divide the total pot by those number of shares, and you pay them out accordingly. It's a great way to have fun. That way, you can have the same pick as your buddies. You can root on the same thing. It's a great way to